These little wheels on these chairs are horrible. Fortunately, you can buy these on Amazon. Tammy will be so much happier rolling around in that chair now than with those plastic wheels. You can get those on Amazon. Just search on replacement office chair wheels. Tons of them will come up. They're like rollerblade wheels. They're rubber. They're quiet. They're silent. They're super smooth. Must buy for any office chair. Well, entrepreneurship. I posted a meme on my Facebook page this morning, or this afternoon rather, that says entrepreneurship to noun, and it's pronounced EntrepreNoSleep, because I slept very little last night. In fact, I've slept not as much over the past 2 weeks as I normally do, or at least I had for the past couple of years. And there's multiple reasons for that. There's the excitement, of course, and there's stress. There's a sense of urgency to do things, and then there's just an overall desire to make things work, I guess. And when I have a problem that's not resolved, I can't sleep. So last night I was up till like 12:40 working. Tammy had to be at the airport at 5:30. And then I woke up at 2:52, 3:55, and 4:12, and then I've been up ever since. Well, I take a little siesta, a little tiny doze, maybe for 10 minutes on the futon here in the office earlier, but that just gave me a little charge. And it's really, I ran into a problem where I just could not sleep. I wasn't about to go to bed until I fixed the problem I was working on yesterday. And the problem, this is a big problem that I had to resolve because it will affect how people shop on the website. And there's going to be multiple websites. There's going to be one website for TroyTube.net. There will be another website to purchase products and the subscriptions and the lessons and everything. Right now, I did the first little test on the TroyTube website with purchases and things, but all that's going to be moved. Monday, I resolved some things that I was having some issues with that were not, I knew I could do it pretty much. I just had to figure out how to do it, and I accomplished that, and not a big deal. But yesterday, started to get really concerned because of some of the problems I was running into. And the problem, when I have multiple websites, I don't want people to have multiple logins and passwords across these websites. So what I've done is I've set up what's called single sign-on, SSO, where you can have one username and password, and it gives you access to multiple websites. So a lot of companies do this at a corporate level. Cricket, of course, did that, and there's companies out there like Okta that use single sign-on. And when you go to a website and you're able to click log on with my Facebook account or log on with Google, and it asks you for permissions to your account and lets you log on to the website with those credentials, that is a form of single sign-on. Now, the problem with those, in my opinion, is, for example, with Google, I host my email with Google. So if I were to use single sign-on, and I'm talking about a custom domain, I pay for email hosting for my domain with Google, with Gmail Business Suite. The problem with using single sign-on in that scenario is if I ever decide to move my email to somewhere else, my logins to any sites that I've logged on to are tied to that Google account, and I essentially could never cancel that without losing access to those sites, having to create new accounts. There's a lot of things that play there. I'm not sure how that works actually. I'm not sure if you disconnect it, if you can do a password reset using the same email address, or what happens, but I'm a little leery of that anyway. But with my sites, I've set up single sign-on. So TroyTube.net will contain all of the accounts, all of the usernames and passwords and everything on that site. And then site B, which is where the products will be sold, when you log in, it will take you to the login screen for TroyTube, and when you log in, it will take you back to that site B, I will say. And it makes life a lot easier, makes management of that easier, and makes your life a lot easier as a shopper. And there's a whole host of benefits to that. Memberships, the benefits, different things. So I could go on and on about that and why I'm doing it. And there's different ways to accomplish that, but this is the way I chose to do it, the way I felt was the best way to do it, in this scenario anyway. And then I started to realize, well, when, for example, when you log into the site and you're logged in, you go to the My Account page, there was a logout button, and if you click logout, then it gives you the local login and password prompts for the site directly, not the single sign-on login, and you can't log in that way. So I had to go through some soul searching last night and decide some things about where am I going to sell my memberships and my lessons and things, my e-learning courses. Am I going to sell it on TroyTube.net, or am I going to sell it on Site B? Where should the accounts reside really? I had to really hash through this yesterday, put a lot of deep thought into it, and decide which is the best way to do that. So then last night, I worked through those things. Started working on it on my laptop on the sofa last night. Tammy went to bed a little early so she could get up bright and early and catch her plane to Louisville to go visit some friends. And I sat there and worked on it for probably three and a half hours until I had it resolved, and then I could relax and lay down and go to sleep. By that time now, I'd had so much stimulation and work and things too late, and I didn't sleep that great. So I'm going to try to avoid doing that as much as I can. But sometimes when I have a problem like that, and those are the things that keep me up at night sometimes, and making sure that users are able to shop and buy things and browse the websites without having a lot of trouble and a lot of difficulty finding what they're looking for. As a programmer, as a developer, there's an old joke about, it's gone back for years, about how a programmer must have designed this, meaning that they didn't take into consideration input from the users on what should be done or what should be changed or how it should flow, the workflow and things. When I did the health study that I mentioned the other day in my video, we interacted with tens of thousands of people. We ended up testing about a little bit over 69,000 people. So I learned a lot about communication with consumers, with the average person. I learned about putting that kind of documentation had to be put at a 6th grade reading level. I think or was it? No, it was 8th grade reading level, and then I think Medicare standard is 6th grade reading level. So there's a lot of things out there you don't realize until you get into them that you have to account for and plan for. And when it comes to the website, give an example. In our old company, one of the things I had to do very early on was I had to redesign the entire checkout page because the one that came with the software that we were using did not work well at all, and people were having a really hard time with it. And they were having a really hard time with things like, it would do this thing where if all the fields weren't filled out properly, it kind of grayed the screen out and you couldn't continue, and people would think that it was locked up and everything. So I redesigned it to where it was a very linear workflow, kind of straight down the screen, and even on mobile it was very linear and worked very well, and never had a single complaint about the checkout screen after that. So you can't assume, when you're designing something and changing the layout and tweaking something that the average person, the average consumer is going to be using, you can't assume that they know exactly where the link or the button is, or what's going to happen if they click that link or button, or that it even makes sense to them. As a technology professional, we click around a lot. We like to, peruse through websites and see what we can find, see what this button does, what's this link do, what's this option for. We ask ourselves all these questions, kind of, the Curious George thing, but we can't always assume that everyone is going to be that way, and they most certainly aren't. And if things aren't laid out properly, it makes it difficult for a lot of people to get through. And see this on a lot of websites. When I come across a website that I have trouble operating, then there's probably a problem. To give you an example, yesterday, I went on. We already have, there's this whole process, and I'm going to go through this in another video soon. I told you, I promised you, where from the startup of registering your business with the IRS, through what I had to go through here to get registered in Florida and Lee County and everything, to get our permits and inspections, and then you have to get what's called a BTR, business tax receipt. Here in Lee County, Florida, state of Florida has 6% sales tax. Lee County has 0.5%. So if you're in Lee County, or if I'm shipping to somewhere in Lee County, Florida, I will charge 6.5% sales tax. If it's anywhere else in Florida outside of Lee County, it's 6% sales tax. So I went on the website for Lee County Tax Collector to submit the changes, because that is currently set up for our home address. And I got to a screen where it says to upload these two documents. It was one for my EIN number. The other one is the occupancy permit that I just got. And those fields were not upload fields, not file upload fields. They were just text fields that you could type in. And I'm not sure, someone has broken the website for certain, and I'm not sure they're aware of it. And then on that same page it says, if you do not have your files in this type of format, in one of these formats, you can email them to us, and it provides an email address. Well, I sent them to the email address, and it bounced back and deliverable. So I started looking at it closer. The email address is missing a dot out of the middle. It was they're using the hosted Microsoft Office 365 without a domain name, so it's like whatever at whatever dot on Microsoft.com, and theirs is at Lee TC for Lee Tax Collector dot on Microsoft.com, but that dot was missing, and so it just said Lee TC on Microsoft.com. So I had to get that email address, put it back in, correct it, send it to them. If I wasn't an IT professional, I probably wouldn't know that. I probably wouldn't have noticed it even, and let them know about those errors. But the average person, probably wouldn't have noticed or known how to get through that process. I called twice to ask about it and let them know. It was on hold for a long time. No one ever answered. So now, a long time for me was 5-10 minutes. I didn't wait an hour or anything. But if they don't answer that in that time frame, they're probably pretty swamped. So I wasn't going to bother with that. I just let them know in the email that it was a problem. Now, one thing that I do have to do very soon, I have a couple more days of hard work to do, and I can't make it to the gym yet. I haven't been to the gym for about 3-4 weeks now, and I promised myself I would not do this, and I'm doing what I said I would not do. So I have to get back on track. So by Saturday, by the end of the day Saturday, I'm going to be in the gym at least once and get back on track to do that. Part of my problem is Planet Fitness isn't anywhere near my office, really. So it's closer to my home. So I have to figure out the routine for that. I put on about 6-7 pounds after, since the hurricane. I couldn't get in the gym for several weeks after the storm, because they had roof damage. and all the gyms were closed. So that made it tough. While I was down here right after the storm, I lived on like Pop-Tarts and ramen noodles for a week. It was. I'm not going to beat myself too bad, but I hit that 50-pound mark last year. I went from 278 down to 228, and I've put back on 6 or 7 pounds since the storm. So I've got to start focusing on myself again and stay on track with that, because first of all, I don't want to buy a new wardrobe again, but second, I just don't want to go back there to where I'm that far out of shape again. But let me show you what I've done around the office here lately. So this morning I got up early and went and scavenged a desk. Really nice desk and a hutch and everything. The company just didn't need them. They set them out behind their building and posted on Facebook last night if anybody wanted them. They were free and they were in good condition. Someone had already taken one, unfortunately, so I only got one of them. Would love to have had the other one, but it is what it is. At least I got one. And so I'm continuing to clean up my office. Have to be careful here because I got a whiteboard over here now, and I got stuff written on it that you can't see yet. And so here's kind of my layout of my office now. I have a stand-up desk that's motorized. It'll raise up and down, and we use that to do video. I've got a television mounted on the wall that's connected to my computer, so I'll be using it for videos and lives and different things, presentations, or when I have someone in here and I need to show them something, I can throw it up on the TV real easy. So makes life a little bit easier. And I'm going to flip around the camera here and show you this. So some of you might remember back when first went to work at Cricket, I was trying to keep myself busy working at home. Wasn't used to that 9 to 5, and I made 3D printed miniatures. And to give you an idea of how small those are, there's a pair of scissors next to them. And give you a little preview of them there. And if you haven't seen these, when I look in this little drawer here, there's actually little rolls of vinyl in there, and that's real vinyl. I cut off vinyl and rolled it up. And then over here, here's an award we got at the old company for the fundraising when you guys donated and were so gracious to donate and help feed the homeless in Louisville. This is a little piece of wood that is pretty sentimental to me. In our old company, we were truly scrapping and growing from the ground up, and one day I asked for some inventory counts, and this is what they came back with. It was a little piece of wood with counts written on it. So I like to keep little things like that as reminders. And so there's my desk, 3 monitors, and then the 4th one is the television over there. I used to have 5 monitors when I was at home in Louisville, and I'd love to have a 4th one because it makes developing a little bit easier for me, but 3 is adequate. I'll make do with that. And so if I come over here, this is what I've done over here. I've got my little Cricket army watching out my window here. That's like a half-round window that's between my office and the lobby here. So those guys are hanging out, keeping watch on things. So tomorrow morning I have to be over in Cape Coral. All the pallet racking, shelving things that I bought a couple of weeks ago, the movers are coming. They're going to move it from where it's being stored at now to our warehouses here, and this weekend we'll be setting up the pallet racking in the warehouse. I'll try to get a time lapse of that being set up and everything if I can, so I can show you what that's going to look like. And from then on, it's going to be a lot of working on the websites, logistics. Today I've worked on our website just a little bit and gotten things set up with UPS and USPS for shipping. At least got started on that anyway, and getting ready to, I've done some configuration to the e-commerce site. It's a lot of work to set up an e-commerce site when it comes to, just configuring it. You've got sales tax, you got shipping methods, and then loading in all the products, all the little options that you have to set up. There's all kinds of little options, things like, does a person have to be logged in and have an account so that before they can purchase? You can let people do anonymous purchases if you want. I don't, but there's just a lot of things to go through. And then once it's all set up, I've got to do a lot of walkthroughs and scenarios. And then once those are finished, then I have to go through some things like order statuses, workflow. How are we going to pick orders? How are we going to track what those orders, what stages they go through? I need to build a dashboard so that in the warehouse we can see how many orders we have open, how many have we shipped, and things like that, so we can keep an eye on things, make sure we don't miss any orders. There's just a lot of little things like that to do still yet, but that's all going to be crammed hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I don't want to make a promise on a date, okay? But right now it's looking like we're going to try to at least get off the ground at some small scale around the first of the month. That's if everything goes well, we don't run into any major problems. And last time I didn't want to run into a major problem, a hurricane blew through, but I don't think we're going to run into that this time of year, but you never know what can happen. And if all goes well, end of the month, first of the month, maybe early March, we should be up and running. So just wanted to share that with you, share where we're at with progress, and share my new to me desk that was used and free. And when it comes to starting a business, when you can get things like this cheap or free, it means a lot. This desk and that hutch new cost about $800, so quite a bit. Coincidentally, tomorrow the movers are costing us, I think the estimate was $844. So getting that desk, not having to pay anything for it, essentially pays for the movers. So those are the things you look for and things you try to do when you're starting a business and really starting out, kind of bootstrapping it, doing it yourself, funding it yourself, trying to get it off the ground.